Hey, welcome back, Business 101, the online edition. This is an introduction to module number 6. Module 6 we're opening up after, of course, you took your first midterm exam, so I hope everything went well with that. Generally speaking, folks who have taken that midterm feel like, well, it seemed like it was fair. It seemed like it really did try to cover the material in modules 1 through 5. At least that's what they've told me historically. And so I sure hope that that was your experience as well. If you have questions about the midterm, of course, don't hesitate to ask. But hopefully you got through it, you feel okay about it. And the great thing is, now that you've gone through this first midterm, you know pretty much what to expect on midterm number 2 and the final exam. The format and the sort of the level of difficulty is pretty much the same for both of those next 2 exams. So you should have a good sense of how to prepare for the next exam and what you've got in front of you. Alrighty? So, module number 6. Module number 6 deals with the exciting, fascinating, barn-burning topic of organization. Yeah, I realize when you see the title of the module, you may say, it's not the most exciting thing on TV today. And I realize why you may feel that way. But I got to tell you, this is important stuff, I think, in this module. Why? Because, well, you've already sort of asked the question, and this module is the answer to the question you've been asking. Really? What question is that? Well, you may remember all the way back in module number 3. Well, in module 3, remember we talked about, sole proprietorships and corporations, right? And why is it that 70% of the companies in the United States are sole proprietorships, but the small number of corporations really dominate in terms of sales revenue, dollar amounts, market share, right? And some of the questions that some of you asked in the discussion forum for that module were, well, why aren't sole proprietorships more successful? Why aren't they bigger? Why don't they grow more? And quite frankly, module 6 on organization, that's your answer. That's the answer why, right? So let me see if I can sort of illustrate this for you. Actually, last week, I was talking to a business owner who is running a sole proprietorship, and he was asking me, how can we grow this business over time? I want to grow it. I don't want to spend all my waking hours at this business. I want to have more employees and be able to take some time off and trust that the business is going to keep rolling along when I go on vacation, those kinds of things. And I told him the key to you growing your business, just like any sole proprietorship, is learning to delegate and trust other people to do their job. And he said, man, that is hard for me because, it's my name on the business. And quite frankly, the reason people call is because they like my quality of work and how invested I am in the work, how I feel a sense of ownership, and I want to treat every client exactly the best because it's my name. And how do I get employees to have that level of dedication and passion and sense of ownership over how the customer's treated? And the real answer is, you can't. I mean, you want to hire well and get, passionate people and people who have a great work ethic, but they're never going to feel exactly the same way you do because you're an owner and they're not, right? But until you're able to trust people to do their job, you're always going to be thinking like a sole proprietor. You're always going to be thinking like, hey, no, don't do it that way. Do it the way I told you. No, let me do it. No, just do it the way, right? You're going to be micromanaging your employees. And of course, we've already talked about that in another module, right? Nobody likes that, right? Because people don't leave bad jobs, they leave bad bosses. You know what I'm talking about, right? And so the whole idea of being able to use job specialization and grow your organization by departmentalizing and hiring more employees and then trusting them to do their job, trusting them that they're competent to do their job, even if it's not exactly the way you'd want to do it as the owner. Well, that's really the key to making the shift in your mind from a sole proprietor to a business owner. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second, but this is really the key behind module number 6, right? So module number 6 really starts all the way back in 1776. That's right, 1776. What happened that was important in 1776? Not the Declaration of Independence, although that was obviously very important to those of us who live in the United States. But what I'm talking about is a little book was written by Adam Smith called The Wealth of Nations. And, quite honestly, depending what kind of news channel that you listen to on a regular basis, you may think that this book, The Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith, was the best book ever written, or you may think it's the worst piece of trash ever written. So depending whether you listen to Fox News or MSNBC, you may have a different opinion about this book, right? But for the sake of our discussion here in module number 6, this is what I mean about how important the book, The Wealth of Nations, is. It's because this is where Adam Smith introduced to us the idea of job specialization. Having employees specialize in relatively narrow roles that they were able to get really good at just one piece of this process, one piece of the puzzle. And so let's talk about that just a moment, right? So what Adam Smith proposed was way back in the 1700s, right? If you had, for instance, a factory that was making nails, and let's say that to convert raw metal into a finished nail that you can use in carpentry, it takes like 13 steps, right? You could have every one of your employees learn all 13 steps and then let them loose, and throughout the workday from 8 to 5, they're going through taking raw metal, converting it to a nail, all 13 steps. That's one way you could do that. And if you choose to do that, your factory will probably kick out maybe about 200 nails a day or so, okay? But there's another way to do this. And that is, if instead you take your employees and you say, okay, hey, I want to teach you how to do step number 1 and only step number 1, but to do it really well and do it really quickly. And then take another employee and train them in step number 2 of the process. You get my point? That's right. What we're describing is what today we call an assembly line. And by using an assembly line, you don't just double your throughput. You don't even just triple it. Instead of 200 nails a day, your factory may kick out something closer to 900 to 1,000 nails a day. That's the exponential increase in production you get from using job specialization. In fact, I might argue the reason that we enjoy automobiles, skyscrapers, the Golden Gate Bridge, iPhones, computers, technology, everything that makes up this modern life of ours, well, it's because of job specialization, which quite frankly was the birth of the Industrial Revolution. So that's how important it is. That's the foundation of this whole idea of organization, organizing your company into specific roles, specific departments and divisions where men and women specialize in a particular set of roles, and together you have enough folks specializing in what they do to really create a significant, enormous increase in production and throughput. Now, you will see in the module a discussion of things like, well, flat versus tall organizational structure. You'll learn a little bit about that and what are the pros and cons of each, right? What is that even describing in terms of an organizational chart, right? How wide is the span of leadership? In other words, if you have a manager, how many people should that manager manage? Should he manage, or should she manage 27 employees or only 7? What's optimal? That's a topic that's been discussed, right? Here's another question. How do you decide what is the ideal way to divide your company into divisions or departments, right? Should we have an accounting department and a production department and a sales department? Or should we combine some of those functions together? Now, of course, a lot of that depends on what's best for your kind of business and your industry. But those are all the kinds of decisions that get made when we talk about this big topic of organization. Alrighty? So I hope that this particular module that you'll keep in mind, this is quite frankly pretty important stuff, right? This is stuff that honestly, I talked to business founders every single month on this kind of stuff. Small business owners, sole proprietorships, and quite frankly, many students come to me and they tell me in this class, Business 101, hey, you know what? The reason I'm taking this class from you is because, well, my dad runs a small business and he's like burnt out and he keeps saying he needs help and he wants me eventually to take over the business. And quite frankly, it's never been that successful. He's always, been stressed out and he's always working on weekends more than he wants, and he doesn't get to take many vacations. And I don't want that life. I want a better life than that. How can I take this little small business to the next level? Well, again, the answer is to think less like a sole proprietor and more like a business owner. To think less like, well, I got to do the work because it's my name on the nameplate there and nobody does it quite like me and I'm the one who has to answer all the questions. To think less like that and more instead like what? This business is a machine. It's a machine that pleases customers and generates sales revenue. And so I need to do whatever's necessary to make this machine bigger so it can serve more customers, can produce more products or services, generate more revenue and more profit, and keep running while I'm off spending more time with my family and taking a vacation and enjoying my boat in the middle of the ocean or whatever it is that is your deal, right? And so that's really the huge shift, to think less like a sole proprietor, more like a business owner, and be willing to do whatever is necessary to organize your company and set it up for growth. That's the spirit of module number 6. I hope you enjoy it. Welcome to module 6 on organization.